from our studio in Atlantic City and tonight from Spokane, Washington, I'm David Spatz. And coming up next, she's turned from the Hollywood screen kitten into mature leading lady. Debbie Reynolds joins me on tonight's edition of Curtain Call, and it all starts right now.
Funny as it may seem, some people get their kicks stolen or
Some have called her unsinkable, others have called her indestructible. I'll add a couple of adjectives to that. One is adaptable and the other is legendary. Debbie Reynolds, so good to see you again.
Really?
I have to come all the way here from Atlantic City to see you.
Isn't
You used
that
to be a regular
crazy?
there. I know.
Oh, always. I worked at Atlantic City since I can't remember when.
No,
you
I
know.
can remember. Well, I don't wanna-
60s. Well, it was
When it was
62, I think.
Before
Before it
gambling,
was before gaming, when it just the first year it opened, gaming opened, and then every year thereafter.
every year, at just about
I
every
miss
property.
it, not working there. I really like it.
Well, we'll see what we can do to get you back there. Anyway, I said adaptable because I first saw you perform in Atlantic City. I don't want to say how long ago it was, 27 years. But
everyone should be proud of how many years, you know. I mean, this is my life is performing.
But when I first saw you, you had the quintessential big show. 30
yes.
musicians with a full string section
Yes.
and 5 boy dancers behind you and a couple of backup singers. You didn't really do the audio-visual effects because they didn't really.
I didn't do
them
then, because we had we had the live orchestra.
Right.
Now they've sort of pushed us to such a degree where we're not even allowed that. You know, you're a trio.
Which is why I said adaptable, because you have 2 musicians on stage and some music is on track.
Oh,
and
a lot. It was like $100,000 to put on tracks.
And yet 1,200 people today sat there enthralled with what you did, because you came out and you sang, and you did.
it all.
You did jokes, but the jokes that you did really hit home with the crowd because you localized things. You made them feel like
I really make up things as I go along because it's not spontaneous. Otherwise, I don't have any fun. You know, to me, the show has to be about instantaneous. You know, who's here that night? Who's amusing? Or what are the people like? You know, what's the weather that day? What's the area like? Like I've never been to this casino before.
That's very sweet. I'm delighted to be here at Northern, what's the name of it? Northern Quest. That part was what threw me. Northern Quest Casino. I said, well, first of all, my agents called me up and they said, Debbie, you're going to go to Spokane, you know, but they didn't tell me you really can't get here.
You made, such wonderful, jokes about the casino and the fact that you were in Spokane. And I'll tell you something else. You didn't even realize you weren't actually in Spokane today. See, you're staying in Spokane at I don't want to say the Belvedere Hotel, I said the Davenport Hotel, but you're staying in Spokane. You're actually
what is the name
you're
of
working
it?
in Airway Heights. And if you knew that, you'd have done 10 more minutes.
See, yes, Airway's a good name. I would have had fun with that one.
Well, you already had fun with the airlines.
I don't knock the airlines because we have to go by the airlines, but it's just that today is so wild with security and what you have to go through. I think it's so funny. It's an act by itself. You don't have to do anything except get up and talk about life.
Right, I say you don't have to embellish because the truth is funny
Jack
right
Benny
there.
said to me years ago, my first act was in '63. He came back and he said, Debbie, just be you. Don't tell jokes just be you. They came to see you and they just want real stories, but funny. Well, my life is funny. At least what you do is you take things that are not funny, really kind of upsetting in your life, and you make them funny.
That was what I was going to ask you about. Your
my first husband, my second husband,
but mostly your first husband is the one that gets the reaction when you ask the audience, what do you think of Eddie Fisher, and they let you know, and you don't seem too upset.
My first husband, remember him, Eddie Fisher, remember him? What do you think about him? My sentiments, exactly.
What I really enjoyed about it is that you're upfront and open about it. And instead of, you know, there are other artists who would say, all right, don't ask me about this, and I'm not going to talk about that
isn't
part
that
of my
funny?
life.
We don't talk about this subject, we don't talk about. I just say everything is approachable and interesting, and that's what the people want to hear about you and your life, and how's it going, how has it been, and how you're doing, and have you made it through, or have you not made it through, or, you know, what's cooking in your life. And my life has really been interesting,
to say the
least. It's like, oh, did I live through that? And so it's like an eternal river. It just keeps flowing, and I'm joyful for that. You know, every experience is one of teaching, and if you are religious, that's an enormous help. How you can make it, I find. I can do much better with it, and then you can maintain your sense of humor, because everything is funny, especially ex-husbands.
He keeps writing books. People keep saying, what is he doing? I said, I don't know. He writes books. I didn't know he could read.
You know, you joke around on stage about, you know, people under 50, they don't know who you are, Debbie who, and yet your career has spanned, you know, Singing in the Rain in '52, actually before '52, but Singing in the Rain in '52 is what brought you to the attention of the public, to Will and Grace in 2006. So they know
Yes,
who
and
Debbie
I
Reynolds
did
is.
for Disney. I did it's like a Halloween Town. It's a series of films for kids, young people under 12, and it's wonderful. So clean, just joyful, young, clean entertainment, which I like to do. So I do that, and the Rugrats. I do a voice of Grandma Aggie, I think it is. I forget who I do. I do any job.
Yeah, you're constantly
I'm versatile.
working. And that's what I said, and adaptable
I
and
can
versatile.
wash the dishes and dry them.
But the show you're doing now appeals pretty much to a certain demographic, and that is the folks who are your age, maybe a little bit older, a little bit younger. And you're not afraid to say that as we tape this, you just celebrated your 74th birthday.
Don't you think that's great?
I think it's fabulous.
And
but
I can't
but
wait.
so many people say, oh, no, don't mention my age. Or you look up online what their age is, and you got 4 different birthdays.
Doesn't everybody know my age? And who cares? First of all, it's really how you feel. What do you exude? Are you a bore? Are you an old person, meaning act old, be down, be boring? You know, I'm never going to be that. I was never that. My mother, to the day she left us, and she was 87, and she just became quite ill. Otherwise, she would have gone on, and she was full of, she used to say, spit and vinegar. And I just think that I like life, and I love performing, and that is my life.
Spread my wings and fly. I'm the girl in the middle.
Let's talk about the role that brought you to the attention of the world, and that was in Singing in the Rain with Donald O'Connor and the great Gene Kelly, who pretty much taught you everything you know about dancing, didn't he? I mean, you weren't a dancer until you were cast. You weren't even 20 years old when you did that movie.
No, I was 18.
Right.
And I'd never danced when I did Singing in the Rain. And Mr. Mayor called Mr. Kelly in, and he said, meet your leading lady. And, you know, Gene said, well, how long have you danced? And I said, oh, I really don't dance very much. I didn't know what I didn't know what I was just stammering around. He said, well, can you do a time step? I said, I think sort of. So I did a crummy little time step. Then he said, can you do a maxi Ford? And I said, I don't own a car. So, you know.
Right.
But they put me in. In those days, they made movie stars.
Right.
You became a star because of them, the studios. It didn't happen by accident. They put you in a starring role for which you're not really trained, but you work very hard. See, I worked all by myself for 3 months with teachers, like 8 teachers, one for tap, one for jazz, modern, you know, and all of Gene's steps. You had to learn his style, and then gymnastics, because that was Donald's style. Right. So I took tumbling and trapeze.
All right, so you start making the film, and when you show up for your first day at work, are you intimidated, or are you too young to be intimidated and scared? I didn't say dumb, you did. Too young or dumb?
Too innocent.
Right.
You know, I'm just a young girl. I was 17 years old. When I went to MGM, I was actually 16. And well, so I would say I was so innocent, and which makes you dumb, I guess, because about show business.
Right.
And I wanted to be a gym teacher. To me, I was making a lot of money, and they paid me every week $75 a week. So I thought that was huge.
So you had a contract.
I was saving money to go back to college.
So you do Singing in the Rain, and all of a sudden, Debbie Reynolds is becoming a household name. And over the next maybe 10 years or so, it just seemed like you were in the business forever. And then you made the unsinkable Molly Brown.
Well, I was very lucky to get that, because Shirley MacLaine was set for that role. Right. And then Hal Wallace, the producer, had a lawsuit. And so MGM wasn't able to go with Shirley, who was under contract to Hal Wallace. And I really wanted that part. So I went in and just bugged them to death. I would go and just sit there on a bench and say, now, you know, I could play this part really great.
What was it about Molly Brown?
She was unsinkable.
Yeah, but is that why you were attracted to the character and the part in the movie?
I loved it because I like the spirit of ain't down yet. No matter what's happening, you might be knocked down, but you ain't down. I'm gonna learn to read and write. I'm gonna see what there is to see. So if you go from nowhere on the road to somewhere.
Some people forget that she was a survivor of the Titanic.
The Titanic, she saved her lifeboat, and she was a really funny society. She tried to get into society, and everybody snubbed her because she was kind of an outrageous lady.
A little bit like yourself, not too unlike yourself.
I'm not really social. I just like to be with people that are interesting and funny and amusing to talk to, and that's what I enjoy. Ordinary, wonderful, warm people.
And you were nominated for an Academy Award for your work in that film, and unfortunately that year the award went to Julie Andrews for Mary Poppins. So,
well, I'm glad for Julie. She was very good, but I thought Molly Brown was a more difficult role. So, of course, I would have loved to have won the. Who wouldn't? Everybody can lie about it, but everyone would like to have a little gold statue.
Sure. Speaking of gold statues, in 1970 you began cornering the market on Hollywood memorabilia, and I think since then you've got over 3,000 costumes, 4,000 posters, God knows how many thousands of square feet of sets and props.
Done. Yes, I have over 5,000 costumes. I have.
Why is it you decided that you needed to collect
well,
all
you
of
know,
this?
we have a Hall of Fame for baseball players and basketball players and bowlers. And we don't have for movie stars that influence so many people in their life that you would remember, like your first date or this movie, maybe you gave your first kiss or a hug or some memory that is so wonderful and relates to a special movie or movie star. Well, a lot of them are passing on very quickly now, and so we're losing our history. And I just decided somebody should be saving this, and if it wasn't me because I wasn't chosen, and I really took on a very big job and very expensive. Every penny I have goes into this collection, and I don't regret it. Sometimes when I'm really busted, I say, whoa, you crazy nut, you know, now you're going to buy James Cagney's tuxedo, and you can't go on like this, Debbie. But I can, and then Todd, my son, is wild for the idea, so it'll live on because of Todd. And then Carrie, my daughter, also and she knows all the new movie stars. So
Right.
I have an entree to the new young stars that I wouldn't have ordinarily, but with Carrie and Todd, it's nice to have the children want to carry it on. So I think somehow, some way it'll get done.
You have two wonderful children. Carrie, of course, Princess Leia in Star Wars, who you
Yeah.
refer to on stage. You know, you refer to yourself as Princess Leia's mother. For those
That makes me a queen.
that makes you a queen. Exactly. I never even thought of it that way. When Carrie expressed a desire to go into the business, were you supportive, or did you say, "Oh, please, find something else to do"?
I didn't really want her to be in the business, to be in front of the camera, because she's so gifted. She's a wonderful actress, but I really thought she was so wonderful at writing. Already she was writing on the walls and tablets full of all over the house. And I thought, well, what a special gift. But she's a brilliant singer. This she hasn't.
Now that I didn't know.
She's brilliant, and I'm always tearful that my daughter hasn't recorded, because it's really an exciting part. She's working now on doing a one-woman show where she will incorporate some singing and telling, like her life story or part of her life story.
Do you worry about that? I mean, what is she going to say about you? I mean, obviously,
I
she
don't
things to say
care.
about her father.
Well, she can say anything she wants to
Right.
about me, because I've been a very good mother. I adore my children, and anything I've done, if I've been critical, it's on purpose. I mean, you're not supposed to be their best friend. I feel that you are doing the level best you can to raise a human being, to be compassionate, care for other people, share their talents, and be good, wonderful human beings. And that's what you're doing. You're not doing anything bad. If you're too disciplined, which I'm not, and I'm very funny. My daughter's very funny. She has a great sense of humor, and certainly that's not from Eddie. So,
Where's a rim shot when you need
really,
one?
you need the drums. I don't care if he gets upset when I tease him. I'm just teasing him. I mean, I'm not really picking on
Right.
him. Anyway, he deserves it.
Right.
So it's all.
Do you ever run into him? Do you ever,
Not on purpose.
Obviously not on purpose, but I mean,
No,
do
he
your paths
never.
ever cross?
He's
No?
never. He's not a parent. You know, he's not. Has never been the kind of father that raised the children. I raised the children, and it's just not in him. There's something missing for this maternal
Right.
in him. So I don't know why.
You-
And his dad was kind of like that too. Kind of,
okay, well then-
kind of cold, you
Yeah.
know.
You also make reference on stage to Elizabeth Taylor, who
Yeah.
Eddie left you for Elizabeth Taylor, and of course you poke fun of her that she's 2 years younger than you. Do you ever see her run into her? I mean, that must be
Oh, sure.
right.
Oh, she just sent me a beautiful bouquet for my birthday. She says, I miss you, I love you, love Elizabeth. And I go over and I'll take a big old pumpkin pie and we eat the pie. And I'm going over Easter, that we're having Easter. She has an Easter egg hunt every year. So Carrie goes, and my granddaughter, Billie, Billie, who's an angel. Of course, she would.
Of course, but you're the grandmother. You didn't say
And
that.
I just think she's a bit of heaven. And so we'll go on the Easter egg hunt, and she gets the most Easter eggs, so I stick with her.
Do you, or did you and Elizabeth ever once, sit down and compare notes about your respective marriages to Eddie?
No, not notes really, but really we just, at one point, our paths were crossed, and I sent her a note, and she sent me a note, and it just said, we're out of time. Let's forget about the past and move along. We were friends at age 17, and let's remain friends.
Oh, I didn't
So,
realize you and Elizabeth were friendly.
we went to school together on the MGM lot.
Wow.
She was a star. I was just a little girl. You know, when I did, before Singing in the
She was
Rain,
a star that she was 2 years younger than you are.
she was, I did Abba Dabba and Boop Boopy Doop
Right.
and little parts,
Right.
you know, and she was starring in Ivanhoe and major films at MGM. She was always a star. Elizabeth has been a star since she was 3 years old.
Right.
And that's pretty tough, you know, to be on all the time. I got to live a normal life, go to basketball games. I went to proms. She never got to attend a prom. She never had dates. everything was arranged for her, so she never had a real opportunity to be young.
Let's talk again about what you did up on stage, especially when you showed the clips from Singing in the Rain and Unsinkable Molly Brown.
Well, those are my
all the-
movies, but I showed some bloopers too.
Well, the bloopers were great. Where did you get them? I mean, the one with Ronald Reagan pulling up his pants halfway down, pulling up his zipper. How unpresidential. And then the remark you made afterwards.
Well, I made that up one night, you know. It
About-
must be a presidential problem. It's just, I just ad-libbed that, you know, because
Right.
I never know really what I'm going to say or do, because you're supposed to be just enjoying yourself, having a good time.
Right.
So the bloopers I like because they're really hysterically funny. From Warner Brothers, I got my son is an editor also, Todd. He cut it all together. Took him quite a long while to put it together. And he did my other clips of my own. I just do 5 of my
Right.
movies.
And it's a great treat for the audience because you can hear them like going ooh and ah, and then you singing along with the
Yeah, they
songs.
like
It just
that.
kind of brings it all together. Hey, Debbie, I could sit here and talk to you all day. I know you've got a lot to do, and the
Well,
show is only 30 minutes long.
It was really a
Thank you
pleasure
so
to
much.
see you again.
It was a pleasure to see you.
I'm gonna move from place to place and find a house with a golden stair. And if that house